Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 237 of the podcast, where you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube. Today's Sunday, April the 18th, and we are coming off of a night of combat sports, sort of. There was UFC, and then there was some other stuff that went on. And before we get into any of that, and before I introduce my trusty co-host here, let me remind you guys, if you are interested in grabbing some MMA on the Rocks merchandise, you can do so through our friends at Team Reaper. Reaper1.co is the website. You can grab yourself t-shirt, tank top, hoodies. You can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10. That's MMA ROCKS10. I feel like I'm condescending you guys by always spelling that out, but at the same time, like, I've seen the way some of you write when you message me, so I don't necessarily trust that you can spell it. So you can do that. You can grab some MMA on the Rocks gear, or you can grab some MMA gear, some sparring gloves, jiu-jitsu gis, rash guards. They have a rash guard of the month club, which is pretty cool. Get a new rash guard every month. And yeah, and you could support some other fighters as well. Team Reaper is very good to the fighters. They take care of them. Everybody's always saying fighters should be paid more money. Obviously, this is a hot topic lately because of the released pay for the Ben Askren and Jake Paul fiasco. So if you're one of the people that think fighters should be paid more money, then buy one of their t-shirts. Then you have a cool shirt and they have some money in their pocket so they can train. All right, now let me introduce, all the way from New Jersey, fitting us into his busy schedule, Jeff, the Animal Wilson. Jeff, how you feeling on this Sunday afternoon, my friend?
Bill, I feel great, man. We're back in person tomorrow doing the hybrid thing. We're going to try this again for the now third time. So I'm very excited, but there's a little bit of stuff that I got to do in preparation for that. But Bill, I don't know what the situation is in Florida because I do not live there, but in New Jersey, a whole bunch of teachers signed this petition to give our students a waiver from state exams, and we got that waiver. So, very, very excited that my students don't have to go through that. I feel like it is unfair to them. And Hate Hackers is correct, Bill. The fight was rigged.
Yeah, talking about Jake Paul and Ben Askren, obviously we'll get to that, but let's stick with this for a second. So nowhere in New Jersey do kids have to take standardized tests?
That is correct, Bill, and I'm excited, man.
Okay.
I hate those things anyway.
And does Jersey have the opt-out, like where the parents can opt out?
I believe so. But if you do opt out of a standardized test, in the state of New Jersey, it does affect a student's ability to apply to a college because in New Jersey, the colleges look at either the how they did on the SATs, or they had to get a passing score, like a really high score on the SATs, or a passing score on the state exam, either or.
Okay. Yeah. I have mixed feelings about that, and we could get into a whole thing about standardized testing. I'm not a fan. There's a system in place, and the system is like any other system. It's there to make money, and it doesn't really benefit the students, which I don't like. But at the same time, I understand, education's a business, and businesses need money. So there's a whole bunch of politics involved there. We won't get involved in that, Jeff. What's going on? What else is going on in your world?
The weather's starting to get better, and we're actually entering the final quarter of the school year. So, very excited, Bill. But yeah, other than that, great night of fights last night. For the most part, I actually really enjoyed the undercard last night. But Bill, I thought everything else, the boxing thing, if you can even call it that, was a giant fiasco, like you said. But Bill, tell me what's going on with you and the family.
Yeah, the family's good, man. My parents are coming down tomorrow to visit for the week. So we're gonna, you know, take the little one out to Disney. My dad texted me, and it's funny. He's so old school. He's like, because he doesn't know anything that's going on with like the theme parks and stuff. You have to have a reservation because they're like limiting, attendance and stuff. He's like, hey, book us tickets for Disney and get a hotel, and I'll send you the money. And that was all he said. I was supposed to just like assume the rest. Like, all right, well, what days do you want to go? He's like, and then he told us the parks he wanted to go to. Like, all right, let's go. Let's do it, Dad. Speaking of the parents, it was their anniversary on Friday. Happy anniversary to the folks. So I guess we're gonna celebrate when they come down. But I took the girls out to breakfast this morning, Jeff. We went and I guess you'd call it like brunch. So the wife and the daughter and I, we went to breakfast, and then we always like to tire the little one out on the weekend in the hopes that maybe she'll nap, right? So on the way back from breakfast, we stop at this state park, and it was like $2 to go in. And I was like, all right, $2. That probably means like there won't be as many people in there. I hate crowded playgrounds because I hate other people's kids. As much as I love my kid, Jeff, I can't stand other people's kids. Like, just keep them away from me.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but that's because you're actually raising your kid. You're not letting somebody else do it. So
it's true.
As a teacher, I'm starting to observe a lot of parental behavior that I cannot stand. So, Bill, I think you can appreciate that too.
Oh, for sure. It definitely comes down to parenting. And I knew that as well when I was a school teacher. So I was like, all right, $2, that's worth it because it won't be as crowded. So there's 2 other kids on the playground in this park. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So they're older kids. They're maybe like 6 or 7. So one of them, they come over to my daughter and are like, hey, do you want to come play with us? This is not uncommon. And then usually this means like they're going to play tag or whatever kids do. And, they go and like just kind of run around. It's not really that organized. It's like, Bellator.
Or an Oscar de la Hoya run, a Golden Boy production.
Yeah, maybe it's more like that. We'll get into De La Hoya a little bit later too, that hot mess. So they're gonna go play, and then this kid is like, so my daughter's all about it because when like older kids pay her attention, she's like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So he's like, come on, let's go play. He's like, let's go over to this tunnel right here. So they go to this tunnel on the playground. He's like, we're gonna play meeting. And then they sat in the tunnel and they had a meeting, Jeff. And like there was 2 other kids and they were listening to this older kid talk, and that's what they did. They had a meeting. And I was like, at first I was frustrated because I'm like, man, I'm bringing my kid to the playground so she gets tired, so she'll take a nap so I can do my podcast. Right? But then it wound up being perfect because like I was falling asleep listening to them play meeting. So as soon as I put her in the car, she was out cold.
Nice.
It was perfect. So yeah, I guess from now on, I'm not taking her to the park anymore. We're going to come home and play meeting, and then, and then she's going to be knocked out. Speaking of knocked out, we might as well get into this. I can't even call it boxing because that's not what I saw. I didn't see any boxing on this card last night. Now, I was at a buddy's house, and I won't say whether he paid for it or not because I don't know, but he had it on his laptop, and we had the UFC on a TV. So we were consuming this product, and I didn't know what I was watching, Jeff. At one point, there was a slap fight thing, and these 2 big husky guys, what they do where they slap each other back and forth. The first guy goes and he knocks the other guy out, and then immediately, like, I always think of the business side of things. They were probably, the production team was like, oh no, we budgeted 40 minutes for this slap fight thing. What are we going to do? So that ends. And then they have some rapper I never heard of and some naked chick like dancing around him. I thought this was awkward with the last one with like I think it was the Mike Tyson one where they just had these rappers like lip syncing to nobody because there's no audience. So that was weird. And then I saw Frank Mir against some guy, I guess, who was a boxer, but like neither of them were boxing. They both had their hands down. They were both like just kind of throwing haymakers at each other. And then towards the end, they were just kind of like breathing heavy and leaning on each other. It was very weird. It was so weird to see, especially because, Frank Mir is such a savage on the ground. Like he could have ripped this dude's limbs off at any moment, but he chose to just like be out of breath and like kind of throw punches at him. And Frank Mir, I think he's going to be 42 next month, which is still, for a heavyweight in MMA, like he could be like rookie of the year in Bellator. But
oh man,
there was that. And then there was like Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube did a concert. And meanwhile, this whole time, Jeff, I don't have the sound on. So Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube are doing a concert. I don't know what they're singing. Like it could have been anything. They could have been singing like the Hokey Pokey. And then there was another boxing match with these guys that were wearing like pastel like shorts, and one guy had his hair dyed to match his gloves and his shorts, but they weren't really boxing either. Like it wasn't what I would call like skilled boxing. I never heard of either of these guys. I couldn't tell you their name, like if you put a gun to my head. And that match ended where one of them, like, I guess went down, like he took a low blow, but then it was just like a hook to the body, and he went down. And I guess he was pretending like it was a low blow, or he got hit like in the kidneys, which is illegal in boxing. But when they kept showing the replay, it looked like he just punched. It looks like the guy blocked it and he just punched him like in the elbow. So I didn't know what was going on there. I was just generally confused throughout this whole thing. And it just made me feel old. And like, I was like, and I was just at my friend's house, but I just had this feeling like I want to go home. Just from watching this, mess. And like Pete Davidson was doing commentary for some reason. Oscar De La Hoya was there on cocaine. This was like at the end of The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy wakes up. She's like, and you were there, and you were there, and Snoop Dogg was there, and Ice Cube, and they opened for Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber did a 20-minute song, and I didn't know what was going on, but there was a lot of fire behind him. And I didn't have, again, I didn't have the sound on, and I don't know any of Justin Bieber's music, but it made me really feel old that Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube were opening for Justin Bieber. Because you remember, Jeff, when like Justin Bieber first became a thing and like rappers started bringing him around because like, oh, look at this cute kid. He plays the drums. And then like all of a sudden he became like way more rich and famous.
Yeah, but somehow he never hit puberty.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? But it's okay because you don't have to like fully develop into your gender these days, Jeff. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, that's if you choose a gender. I mean,
that's right. He might still be in limbo. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so here's Justin Bieber on stage. I'm more confused than ever. He's got a wool hat on and he's inside in Atlanta. So it's like he doesn't need that hat even if he goes outside because it's Atlanta and it's probably like the same temperatures that we have here in Florida where it was like 85 degrees and humid today. So I'm just like generally confused watching this whole thing. I don't think it would have been any better if I put the sound on, to be honest, Jeff. So all this is going on, and then we get to the main event, and Jake Paul allegedly knocks out Ben Askren in like a minute or something. And I didn't see any boxing in this fight either. Like they kind of like swung at each other and like clinched up, and it got broken up by the ref, and then he threw like that same overhand looping rear hook that he threw at the basketball guy, and Ben Askren went flying. I'm not much into conspiracies, but it's like I've seen Ben Askren take punches from Douglas Lima and from Robbie Lawler with 4-ounce gloves and like still come forward and win those fights. So, in wrestling, they with the jobbers, they call it like pin me, pay me, where they have like the local talent when the WWE comes to town and they do the local shows and the local guys come out and, they lose to the superstars and they say, pin me, pay me. So last night it was like, punch me, pay me. So he took one on the chin. He made $500,000. Not a bad deal. I'll take that deal every time. I'll let Jake Paul punch me in the face for $500,000. I've been punched probably harder for free. So why not? Why not? Like, you're the YouTube star, you're the celebrity, you're going to win tonight. You're going to pay me $500,000. I'm good with all of that. Like, swing away and I'll sell it real good. And then the most concerning part of this, like, Ben Askren got knocked out, but the person I was most concerned for was the referee in all of this, because this guy was 190. Like, they had like a body cam on him, like it was strapped to his chest like a GoPro. But I think what it really was it was hooked up to the ceiling, like holding him up, because this guy couldn't stand up on his own because he was ancient. Like, they had a corpse refereeing this fight, Jeff. If you call it a fight, or I wouldn't call it a fight. I wouldn't call it a boxing match. I don't know what I was watching at this point. It was like a weird acid trip. It was like Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube and Pete Davidson and Oscar De La Hoya is doing coke over here. And then you got Justin Bieber coming out with a winter hat on when it's practically summertime in Atlanta. And then like Jake Paul comes out with a robot dressed as Jake Paul. That's like a guy in a robot suit. I don't know what I watched, Jeff. I don't. And at the same time, I'm trying to watch the UFC. So I'm only half paying attention, which made me even more confused. I guess I'll sum it up with, like, I'm happy for Ben Askren that he made a shitload of money. And because, like, he's put in so much work. He's been a NCAA champion, 2-time, 4-time All-American at Missouri, world champion at the Pans. Went to the Olympics, wrestled in freestyle when he was really a folk style wrestler. And didn't really cut it in the Olympics because it wasn't really his style wrestling. Went on to be a world champion at Bellator, world champion in ONE FC. This was the biggest payday for him. And I think he's put in the time to earn that payday, and, whatever he had to do to get that pay is neither here nor there, in my opinion. So I don't know. What do you think of my summary, Jeff? Did you watch the event?
Not at all, Bill. I was. I honestly, Bill, I did not care for this. I thought it was a bunch of nonsense. I mean, dude.
Well, do you feel any different about it after I explained it to you?
I mean, I'm amused by it, but that's about it. I mean, I figured this wouldn't go well for Ben Askren. Jordan Burroughs beat his ass for real. So, and he did it for free. So
that's true.
Or that money went to charity or something. But either way, man, I didn't think this was going to go well for Ben Askren. I mean, he looked like somebody's lost uncle at the end of this. I did see the highlight, which was only about 15 seconds long.
Yeah.
And I don't know about this Logan Paul or Jake Paul or
Paulie D.
Yeah, whoever.
It might as well have been Paulie D.
The situation, I don't know.
Snooki.
Yeah, Snooki.
We're gonna have.
I don't know.
Next, we're gonna have Snooki versus Ben Askren next.
I think that fight does not go well for Ben Askren either.
Yeah, Snooki's scrappy, man. I wouldn't count her out.
Bill, anybody who's given birth, I think, is just a tough person. Yeah, dude. But yeah, Snooki is ferocious, man. But yeah, I mean, they have similar body types, so I guess that could happen. Ben Askren versus.
So my favorite part of all of this are the Ben Askren memes.
Yeah, dude. But anyway, Bill. Yeah, I didn't care for it. I mean, I saw the highlights and I was like, okay. Um, I don't know. I mean, what does this prove? I mean, I don't know how soft Ben Askren's jaw is after exploding to the knee from Jorge Masvidal. So I don't know. Maybe it was legit, but it probably wasn't. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude. I did not care for this. I just want to watch my UFC. I had it on mute because I was listening to a podcast in the background.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, dude. That was my Saturday. Was just watching UFC.
Punch me, pay me, is what Ben Askren said. And still, my biggest concern is the guy who's telling him he can't continue, the referee, is like basically dead. Like they used a reanimator or something in the back to bring this guy back to life to come out and referee this fight. And he's like, no, this guy can't. If I'm Ben Askren, I'm like, you're like barely a person anymore. Like, why are you telling me I can't fight? Like, who lets you come in here? Who lets you out of the nursing home to come do this? Like, are you vaccinated? Do you know there's a pandemic going on and you're like highly at risk? In any case, Matt Temple is officially challenging Pete Davidson to a boxing match. I'll watch it. I mean, I watched this thing. I'll just give one more thought to put a bow on this thing, Jeff. It made me feel old because it's like, here's Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube, two guys from my childhood who were like, these guys were cool. And now they're doing this and opening for Justin Bieber essentially. And like, just the whole thing, like I watched it just because, it's it was like the trendy thing. Like everybody's talking about it. Like, let me see what's up with this. And I guess I feel like probably hardcore boxing fans felt in the 90s when UFC started getting popular, because unfortunately, Jeff, I do feel like this is the future of like sports entertainment. People are kind of over the WWE and the stuff they're doing there. And, the UFC is getting like maybe a little too sophisticated for people where they don't understand all, the submissions and everything that's going on there. But they're like, hey, I know who Logan Paul is. Oh, and he's going to fight or Jake Paul. And he's going to fight this guy that was in the UFC. Like, oh, this will be cool. And then they'll just like, I guess, keep making it more extreme, until I don't know. But I know that this is going to be a business model that probably works for a little while. It's going to be a flash in the pan, but I think it's going to be a pretty big pan. And it made me feel old, Jeff, because I'm like, this is not anything I want to see. But at the same time, I know that for the foreseeable future, it's going to be a thing where this is going to keep happening because, a lot of people are making a lot of money. Like after this was done, like all these MMA fighters and all these boxers are calling out Jake Paul. Here's a guy who has boxed 3 times, like once as an amateur and 2 times professionally, boxed an NBA player, and he boxed a world-class wrestler. And everybody wants a piece of this guy because they know that this is making money. So yeah, generally it made me feel old. And yeah, I just want to put on my flannel pajamas and talk about UFC now. That's where I'm at. So yeah, any other thoughts on that before we move on to like actual fighting?
No, let's move on to actual fighting, Bill. I'm over this.
All right. So the UFC. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the main event here? I know Mark Fellows would be disappointed if we didn't start with Robert Whittaker's win over Kelvin Gastelum, but it doesn't seem like Mark Fellows is here for a change. So what do you want to do here?
Yeah, we could start with the main event. Bill, because I gotta be honest with you, I was really impressed with Robert Whittaker, man. It's no doubt that he's a great fighter, former middleweight champion. I thought he was a great middleweight champion, had some wars with Yoel Romero. But Bill, I assumed that Kelvin Gastelum would give him more problems just because Kelvin Gastelum can be very hot and cold, but I felt like he was going to be hot yesterday. But man, when the fight went to the ground, I thought, hey, this is Gastelum's world. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of that wrestling come out. And it just wasn't there, man. And it's not for, maybe it's for a lack of trying, but I think that Whittaker is just too good, man. I think that his grappling has really grown, and even the takedowns were beautiful, man. That double underhook coming off the the counter, and the counter to Kelvin Gastelum's left, and he would just scoop both of his arms under and take him down. Loved that. Just because it was so out of nowhere. The single leg, it didn't look pretty, Bill, but it was effective because it was so out of nowhere. And
you talking about the one in the 5th round?
yeah. Not the best single leg you'll ever see by any means.
I mean, it was a textbook run the pipe. That's like the first takedown you learn. And by any stretch of the imagination, Kelvin Gastelum should be a better wrestler than Robert Whittaker, but he wasn't. Whittaker was not like a collegiate level wrestler or anything. He's a guy who learned wrestling for MMA. It's so impressive. Like, only him and GSP are the only two guys I think that have become like really good wrestlers because of MMA. But sorry, I digress. I'd threw you off your momentum there.
No worries. But yeah, just to add on to what you're saying, yeah, I was really impressed with Robert Whittaker's wrestling, man. He took it to Kelvin Gastelum. He did not look like he had any problems anywhere on the feet. He was aggressive. I still hate that he keeps his right hand down, Bill, but he didn't take enough damage where that was a factor. And man, the way he was just combining his punches with kicks, especially in that, I think it was the first or second round where he went left, right, and then head kick to Gastelum while he was backing up. It was just beautiful, man. Whittaker looked great, but I don't know if he's going to get Adesanya.
Yeah, let's get to that in a second. I like what you said about throwing the head kick in, because throwing a head kick after a 1-2 is not like an easy thing. That takes a lot of flexibility, a lot of dexterity, impeccable timing. It's hard to set up a head kick with a 1-2 for those who haven't done a lot of striking. It's difficult to throw both of your hands and then throw one of your legs that high. So that's just like elite level athleticism. The wrestling speaks for itself. The fact that this guy was not, a collegiate level wrestler, and he's able to wrestle the way he is and take down someone the caliber of Kelvin Gastelum is incredible. The other thing I want to point out is the championship mentality of Robert Whittaker, because he looked like on the stool after the 3rd round, he looked like he was done, Jeff. He was breathing out of his mouth. It looked like his nose was broken. And I was like, man, he's winning this fight, but it doesn't look like he could go much longer. And he dug deep, and he finished. So he won those 4th and 5th rounds too, when he didn't have to. And he was still looking for a finish. When he hit that single leg and ran the pipe in the 5th round, he could have just laid on top of Kelvin Gastelum and, rode it out and rode off into the sunset with a decision. But no, he was trying to take his back. He even took some risks and let Gastelum get back up. And that shows like a true championship mindset, in my opinion. By a true champion in Robert Whittaker. And you got to give it to Gastelum too, because he got rocked in the 1st round, man. And it seemed like he was never really in the fight after that point, but he was never really out of the fight. There's no quitting Kelvin Gastelum. Like you're gonna have to pull the plug on that guy to get him to stop. So much credit to both of these guys. It was an awesome fight. Landslide win for Whittaker. And the thing with Gastelum is a lot of times when he loses, you could say like, oh, well, he should really be a welterweight. It's like, yeah, but Robert Whittaker could very well be a welterweight too. He was for a long time. So that kind of goes out the window. I would kind of like to see Gastelum maybe get his diet in order and go to 170 again and try to make another run there. I think these guys are just a little too big, a little too powerful for him at the top of this division. And they've been showing that time after time. There are some interesting matchups for him, but if a title run is in the picture, I think it's got to be at 170. And ideally for him, 175 would be the perfect weight class. You know, if they created that 165 and then they have 155, 165, 175, you know, which makes so much sense on paper, but, you know, cents don't make dollars or whatever they say. You know, I'm not the one. I've never managed $1 billion company, so I don't know why they're making this decision. But yeah, let's get into. Well, any thoughts on Gastelum's future before we get into your comment on Whittaker getting the Adesanya fight?
Yeah, really quick though, I just want to point out something you mentioned that I completely forgot until you mentioned it. Was the end of that 5th round, Bill? Like you said, he was trying to take Gastelum's back. Let him get up because I think he was trying to transition from the back to a mount. But Gastelum was too quick for that. But dude, just Whittaker was so impressive, man. He just beat Gastelum at his own game. And Bill, I think you're right. I think excuse me, Gastelum, his frame is better for 170. You know, he's just too, in stature wise, he's too short for 185. You know, like Chris Weidman towers over him. And he lost to Chris Weidman. But I think you're right. I think he needs to get his diet in order. I know that when he was working with Mike Dolce, that was a little pricey, but he's got to do something different. And as for Whittaker, yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, we know Whittaker can fight at 170. I think he won the Ultimate Fighter Nations at 170.
Yep.
But yeah, man, Gastelum, I'd like to see him just go down a weight class, man. I think he'd just be better for 170 or, like you said, 175. That 15-pound jump is a lot, but I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do. So
yeah, and there's a lot of fun fights for him there. You know, Gastelum and Gilbert Burns, that would be crazy.
Gilbert Burns annihilates him.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Gilbert Burns runs right through him.
Yeah, but see, this is what intrigues me about it is those are the fights that Gastelum is the best when he's supposed to get destroyed by somebody. You know, like Adesanya was supposed to destroy him. That was one of the best fights ever. It's just like, you know, guys that should put him away, he's there. And guys that he should beat, like the Jack Hermanson fight. Like, I think a lot of people thought that Gastelum was going to beat Hermanson there, and then he submits him with a heel hook out of nowhere. Anyway, I want to address your comment about Whittaker not getting the Adesanya fight because I agree with you. And I want to think of a way to say this without sounding like I'm shitting on Robert Whittaker because that's not what I want to do. I don't think he wants it. And I'm not saying he's afraid to fight Adesanya because of what happened last time or because I'm definitely not insinuating that he's afraid of Adesanya. But when they were asking him, like they were basically throwing him softballs after the fight, like trying to get him to promote this rematch, and he just wasn't doing it. And he's like, yeah, I just think there's nothing else left for me. You know, Marvin Vettori is good. You know, he's kind of like good, like Gastelum's good. And yeah, you know, this is the fight to make. I think it's the biggest fight we can make. And I was just like, oh man, all you had to do is sell it. Like you just had to grab that microphone and be like, give me this Adesanya rematch. Fuck Marvin Vettori. Fuck everything he's ever done and everyone he's ever been nice to in his life. This is my fight. I want it. And it's his. And I think that's all he had to do. I don't think it's anything to do with the performance. Because if you look at the performance of Whittaker and you look at the performance of Vettori last week, you know, flip a coin for who gets it. But Marvin Vettori's like, I want this fight. I want Adesanya. And Whittaker's like, yeah, I guess. So like that's kind of my feeling on it. Like all he had to do is say that he really wants it, and that I think that fight is made. But you know, our two options right now, it seems like, are Marvin Vettori and Whittaker, who have both fought the champ before. Vettori did a little better than Whittaker did, obviously. You know, going to a split decision. You know, some people even thought that Vettori won that fight.
That's because he did.
But not according to 2 of the 3 judges that night. And, Whittaker got finished. But I think Whittaker is still the bigger name. He's the bigger draw. I think if he just grabbed that microphone, Jeff, that fight was his for the taking. But he was just so laid back about it. He's like, yeah, there's nothing else. This is the biggest fight. So, I guess this is what we have to do. Like, if you want. Like, I wasn't getting that same fire that, like, I want this fight. So if I'm Israel Adesanya and I'm looking to fight right away, I'm picking Marvin. Like, because Marvin wants it more, which means he's going to sell the fight more, which means it's going to be a bigger payday for me. I can, kind of stoke the flames a little bit with Marvin and like build a little heat there. Marvin's kind of a hot-headed guy. I could push his buttons and we can, get some good marketing going for this. If I'm Adesanya, I don't want Whittaker because Whittaker's like, first of all, super polite about the call out. And then he just doesn't have that fire. Like he really wants that title fight again. And again, I want to reiterate, I don't think he's afraid to fight Israel Adesanya. I don't think he's afraid to fight anybody. I mean, the guy's been in there twice with Yoel Romero. One time he did it on one leg. But you got to question his decision to be so laid back after this fight. Am I way out of line here, Jeff?
No, Bill, I think you're spot on, actually. I would have liked to see Whittaker just a little more fire out of him. He's so respectful, Bill, and I love him for it, but I hate him for it. So it's like with Marvin Vettori, like you can tell he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I love that, man. Like Marvin Vettori, I think he genuinely dislikes Israel Adesanya for no other reason than the fact that he beat him in that fight.
Yeah. Yeah, Marvin Vettori is mad about everything. Like, he's still mad that Italy was on the wrong side of World War II.
Yeah.
Like, he's just... but that's the kind of fire you need to sell fights. Like, make it about war. Not in the way Rose Namajunas did it.
Yeah.
But, like, let's bring it back.
Yeah, enough about Rose Namajunas and your communist propaganda here, Bill.
Well, sorry, Jeff. It's like I got this vaccine, and ever since I've been like, communism's not so bad. Like it's got into my brain, I think.
Oh man.
Anyway, where were we? So. All right, if you had to bet money on it right now, who's getting the next shot at Adesanya? The thing I was getting to if I'm Adesanya and I'm not in a hurry to fight, I'm saying like let Vettori and Whittaker work it out. Let those two fight, and I'll wait a few more months to fight. But I feel like Adesanya is the kind of guy who likes to stay active. But so, how do you see it playing out?
It's tough, man. I think based on just who's being a little bit more proactive about it, I think it'll be Vettori versus Adesanya. But the thought of Vettori versus Whittaker to fight Adesanya also crossed my mind last night. I would love to see that too. They've never crossed paths in the UFC, so that would be a very exciting fight. But if that doesn't happen, I could see it going for Vettori.
All right, now one more question before we move on, because we've been on this topic for a while. What impresses you more, a 50-44 over Kevin Holland or a 50-45 over Kelvin Gastelum?
Definitely 50-45 over Kelvin Gastelum. But, Bill, just because Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson did the same thing to him, and it just wasn't very exciting to watch. Even Vettori's fight was a little bit more exciting, but not. It didn't get me off my seat or anything. But no, I think giving it to Vettori from a marketing perspective, you're opening up, a new audience, right? You're digging into the European audience, who we know they come out in huge numbers, man. The Europeans love UFC. They come out for Conor McGregor. They kind of come out for Jan Blachowicz. But I feel like Marvin Vettori just has the personality where he could kind of do what Conor McGregor does with Ireland and just bring the whole Italian nation behind him. I feel like he's got that much fire in him.
Yeah.
I think that's a great marketing opportunity. Just open up that to that community, and maybe this opens up some fight cards in Italy. Who was that other Italian fighter? I can't remember his name. He's got tattoos all over himself.
Alessio Sakara.
Yes, thank you. Throw Alessio Sakara in the co-main event, Bill. Let's do it.
Jeff, now you're talking like you're a marketing manager at Triller. Triller was the company that put on the Jake Paul thing.
I see. I didn't know.
We can't bring Alessio Sakara back. He's 59 years old, I think.
Really?
I don't know. He's
right.
He's too old to be fighting anywhere but Bellator. Okay, so, but I always think about the casual fan, Jeff, and the casual fan still doesn't know who Marvin Vettori is, even though he just fought last week. Because I was watching this fight at my buddy's house, who's like, he trains and everything, but doesn't follow very closely. And when they brought Marvin Vettori on with Laura Sanko for that awkward interview at the end, he was like, my buddy was like, who is this guy? And I had to explain, like, oh, he just fought last week. But by the time I'm on my third or fourth bullet point, I'm like, fuck, this is a hard fight to sell. Like, even though like you and I, and probably most people listening to the show know that Marvin Vettori had a close fight with the champ before, it's like, man, once you get past like 2 or 3 bullet points to explain to somebody like why he should be fighting for the championship, it's a hard sell. It's got to be like, people need to know, like, oh, yeah, I know that Italian guy. He fought the champ before. It was close. I want to see that rematch, but we're not there with Vettori. But I still feel like there's a little more fire behind that one. And let me see. We got Coach Bill weighing in, so we got to see what he's saying about this.
Yeah, but Bill, here's my issue with what you just said. Is that interview with Laura Sanko was fine. All right, there's nothing wrong with it because Vettori didn't try and stick his tongue down Laura Sanko's throat, so it was fine. You remember that one chick who fought Cyborg? Laura Sanko interviewed her and she just kissed her.
Oh, Tanya Evinger.
Yeah. To me, that was weird.
Yeah. All right. So Coach Bill is just countering my point about putting Vettori and Whittaker together because it just kind of prolongs the inevitable. So I don't know. What do you think, Coach? Should we put Vettori in there with the champ, or what do we do here? It's kind of a sticky situation. I feel like everything got thrown off track with Darren Till's injury, because I feel like if Darren Till didn't break his collarbone, we would have had a more exciting matchup last week with a little more heat. And if Darren Till won, we would have had like, a new variable in there, somebody who hasn't fought Adesanya. And honestly, my pick for the next Ultimate Fighter coaches would have been Darren Till and Israel Adesanya if I were able to, rewrite history. Mark Fellows jumping in. Yes, Mark, we already discussed the Whittaker fight. So we went into it. Probably, Jeff, we've been on this fight. I think we talked about this fight like more than we've ever talked about a fight. And
yeah, we're on like 25 minutes of just this fight. But
and our biggest Australian fan wasn't here for it. But we have another Australian fighter to talk about down the card. Let's talk about what was supposed to be the co-main event, Jeff. And that was Jeremy Stephens and Drakkar Klose. This one, I really want to side with Jeremy Stephens on this one, but a lot of people are giving Drakkar Klose a hard time. So for those who don't know, if you don't watch like the weigh-ins and the build-up and you don't know the fighters, I know listeners to this show are like part of that 15% of like hardcore fans, but I'm gonna have to humor you guys anyway. So at the weigh-ins, Jeremy Stephens and Drakkar Klose face off. They get really close to each other, and Jeremy Stephens shoves Drakkar Klose across the stage. It's released a couple of hours later, or actually the next day, that Drakkar Klose cannot compete in the co-main event because he was having concussion symptoms. It seemed like he got whiplash. He had like numbness in his hand. And all he could do is like lie down in the dark. He was like throwing up. It's a tough one, man, because I'm a big Jeremy Stephens fan. I was looking forward to this fight so much. It was one of the fight. I think it was the fight I was looking forward to the most on this whole card, Jeff. Don't put your hands on the guy before the fight. Like you're like legally allowed to beat somebody up for 15 minutes, but just wait for that 15 minutes to come. That's all you have to do. And yeah, it wasn't a bad shove. And I could see how people looking at that are saying like, oh, well, he's just scared now. He doesn't want to fight him. Obviously, you don't know who Drakkar Klose is. Here's the thing. He was like severely dehydrated. The guy just finished weighing in at 145 pounds. The guy's, close to 6 feet tall. And that shove gave him whiplash, gave him a concussion. And now you don't have a fight. Nobody gets paid. It's like, what would possess you to do that? Jeremy Stephens, so experienced, been doing this for so long. Like, why shove the guy at the weigh-ins? And now you got to pay for it. And now I think we're going to see like a change in the way the face-offs are done. Because here you have a situation where Drakkar Klose could press charges. Like, this is technically assault. Like, he shoved him, and now he's got like an injury that prevented him from getting paid at his job. So as big of a fan as I am of Jeremy Stephens as a fighter, this was just a piss poor decision on his part. Give me your thoughts, Jeff.
Bill, I wish I knew who this guy was so that I could help you out here. But Drakkar Klose opponent.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Drakkar Klose opponent apparently shoved him at the weigh-ins. And then now we don't have a fight anymore. Bill, I mean, like you said, being dehydrated and stuff, it definitely does not help. Bill, I doubt Drakkar Klose will press charges, but I think any weaker man probably would. Man, I just see. I'm kind of on the fence on this. I like to have an opinion about things. I like my yes to be yes and my no to be no, Bill. But I'm on the fence with this because I don't think Jeremy Stephens did anything wrong technically. Because stuff like this happens at the weigh-ins all the time, man. I just off the top of my head, I remember Ronda Rousey and
Holly Holmes
face off. So this happens all the time. I think Jeremy Stephens took it a little bit too far. I don't think that. I think you shoved him a little too hard because you kind of saw him. Drakkar Klose went across the stage, man. But damn, like to me, it's part of the it's kind of what you sign up for. So I feel like. If you sign the waiver, I feel like this is kind of included, but at the same time, like you said, it's not. This didn't take place during the fight, so I feel like Drakkar Klose definitely has a case here. So, Bill, I gotta be honest with you, I gotta plead the fifth on this one.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with what I said because here's Drakkar Klose. He just cut weight. He's a big guy. He's not expecting a fight right now. He thinks like this is just where they take pictures. Like I'm just gonna have my picture taken, and then all of a sudden you're getting shoved. And then when you're so dehydrated, like it doesn't take much at that point. Like if Jeremy Stephens had slapped him, he could have knocked him out. Just wait. All you have to do is wait a day, and then. Like, not only are you taking his pay away, you're taking money out of your own pocket because now you hurt the guy and he can't fight. So, like, why? And I can't think of a lot of examples of this happening. You said the Ronda Rousey thing. I remember Diego Sanchez attacking Josh Koscheck.
Yeah,
Like,
but Josh Koscheck is an asshole who deserves it.
but does that make it right? And that's what Coach Bill is asking you specifically. Does it make it right? That because it happens all the time and tensions are high, and you can make the same argument for Jeremy Stevens. Like, he just cut weight. He's pissed off. He's been doing this for 30 years. Like, he's uncomfortable too. He's a big guy for 145 pounds. He's in a bad mood. Hey, I don't think Drakkar Klose even did anything to provoke him except stand there.
Yeah. All right. Between you and Coach Bill, I guess I could see where your argument is. Yeah, I can see your point. It kind of comes with the territory, but unfortunately, um, yeah, I think Jeremy Stevens dropped the ball. I mean, I get it, Bill. He's frustrated. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. He's trying to get a shot just to be recognized. So.
Yeah. And, Jeremy Stevens, run of bad luck for him, man. Main event, gets poked in the eye, gets to redo it, loses the fight. Now he gets bumped down to the co-main event, and then he shoves himself out of a paycheck, literally. All right, so let's go on to what the co-main event turned out to be. Andrei Arlovski getting a unanimous decision over Chase Sherman. The Vanilla Gorilla making another comeback to the UFC. He's got a revolving door contract. It seems like it's like the guy. I can't keep track of when he's in the UFC or not. So Sherman definitely pressuring more. Arlovski, hitting the leg kicks and kind of playing a points game, more or less. And yeah, I don't know. How did you see this one, Jeff?
Bill, I thought if Chase Sherman wanted to win that fight, he should have gotten busy. Listen, say whatever you want about Andrei Arlovski. He's been doing this longer than your daughter's been alive, Bill. So
that's not saying a whole lot. She's only 3.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me think here. He's probably been long. He's been fighting longer than probably some of the students that I've had from years past.
Well, I can tell you he's been doing this longer than Jake Paul's been alive. How about that?
Yeah, no, Jake Paul, isn't he 27 or something?
But he's born in 1997. Wasn't Andrei Arlovski fighting in 97?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything about Jake Paul, Bill. I don't care about this guy.
Well, I happened to look this up earlier, but let me see. I keep going on this fight. I'm going to look up when Andrei Arlovski's first fight was.
No, I know his first fight was in 97, but I don't think Logan Paul's that young.
Oh, it was 99.
Oh, jeez.
And it was a loss. He got knocked out in his first fight.
Bill, I wasn't even in high school when so this guy, Andrei Arlovski, has been fighting longer than I've been an adult. We'll put it that way. But Bill, listen, he did the right thing. He got his points. He avoided taking too much damage. The nose still didn't hold up very well, but that's going to happen after 22 years of getting destroyed and smashed in the face. But Bill, I felt like this was, listen, anybody who's upset, blame Chase Sherman. I felt like he really did not turn it up until the end of that third round when there was that groin strike.
Yeah.
And then after that, Chase Sherman just came out really angry and was like, "Why don't you stand in the middle of the cage with me?" He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. He already won the fight. So,
he's like, "Why? I wouldn't fight."
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So I think Andrei Arlovski went out there, had the right game plan, did what he needed to do, knew that if Chase Sherman's going to make a name off of Arlovski, he's going to have to quote unquote chase the fight, so to speak. So yeah, Bill, it's on Chase Sherman, dude. This is like his 12th run in the UFC. I don't feel bad for him. He's been here before. He knew what he had to do, man.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, even as old as he is, are you going to rush in on Andrei Arlovski?
Yeah, why not? He's old.
Yeah, but he's yeah, I don't know if I'm doing that. I'll always have a soft spot for Arlovski because I just have so many great fight memories from him. You know, he's not as scary as he used to be, but that's still a scary fucking dude. Let's keep pushing through this card. Mark will like this one. The fellow Australian Jacob Malkoun get unanimous decision over Abdul Razak Alhassan. This fight was like, Malkoun was, I believe he won the ADCC trials in 2019. Solid grappler, very solid. Obviously had some good takedowns. Alhassan's a strong guy. This was a case of like, oh, you better take this guy down again or he's going to knock your fucking head off. And like, that was the story of the whole fight until like the third round when it was like Alhassan kind of like didn't have the gas in him anymore to end the fight. But up until that point, it was pretty tense because it's like, oh, if you don't take him down again, like this is going to be bad news. I love how they promoted this fight too, because Malkoun was 4-1 going into this, and they're like, he's won 4 of his first 5 fights. It's like, if they did that for everybody with Arlovski, it would be like, he's won 31 of his first 50 fights.
Oh man.
But yeah, Mark just said it was a good game plan from Malkoun, his countryman there. And he did what he had to do, man. I wouldn't want to stand toe-to-toe with Alhassan. That guy can fucking throw bombs. I'm not, I'd be doing whatever I can to take it to the ground and keep it there too. So credit to him. I mean, 4-1 gets a big win in the UFC after, losing his first UFC fight, I believe. And him and his training partner, Robert Whittaker, both walk away with victories. Any thoughts on this one, Jeff?
Yeah, dude, I was really impressed with Malkoun. Just sticking to the game plan really well, man. Alhassan is a scary, scary striker, dude. And he's built like a Mack truck, dude. Dude, I wouldn't want to take any shot from this guy. Punch, kick, elbow, knee, nothing.
Nope.
And that's what Malkoun avoided, was everything. He stuck close to him, was able to use the clinch to take the fight to the ground. And listen, I thought it was a great game plan from Malkoun. Listen, I think anybody who's smart definitely goes for that same game plan against Alhassan, dude. He may have lost last night, but do not get it twisted. If he had connected with anything in any round, I think he would have been able to put Malkoun to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And not just Malkoun, I think anybody in general in the UFC.
Yeah. Forget about the punches and taking it. I don't want to take one of these from him. Like, you remember this game, Jeff? Do you play this in middle school where you flick each other's hand and see who gives up first?
Yeah.
I don't want to take that from Alhassan.
Yeah, dude, forget that, man. Yeah, I thought Malkoun did the right thing, man. Yeah, and I don't think Alhassan loses any credit. On the contrary, I think it's a huge feather in Malkoun's cap. Alhassan's still a scary dude, man. If I were in the middleweight division, I would not be answering the phone call if I knew that it was to fight Malkoun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry,
sure.
Alhassan.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Jeff, we're hitting like an hour here, so I'm gonna run down the results. I'm gonna give you all the rest of the results, and give me 2 that stick out to you the most. But before I do that, I want to jump down to the prelims and talk about Gerald Meerschaert. Obviously, I'm a fan of Meerschaert. I was disappointed with the Khamzat Chimaev fight. I met him in person. I'm friends with his brother. Good dude, great fighter. He just passed Damian Maia for the most submissions in middleweight history, which I feel like is a huge accomplishment. It needs to be talked about a little bit more. So I'm going to talk about it. Hit a nice arm-in guillotine. Well, it started out as an arm-in guillotine against Bartosz Fabinski in the first round, and then turned it into kind of like a modified guillotine where he was pushing his hand across. Just so technically sound. He kind of jumped to the guillotine at first and then used it as a sweep to get to mount, and then modified it where he was like pushing the hand across. It was so deep under Fabinski's chin, and put him unconscious with it. And for it just shows the experience of Meerschaert, who was able to come off of the however many second knockout loss to Chimaev and come back and break the submission record against a super tough guy in Fabinski. I feel like is an accomplishment that needs to be acknowledged, and I'm going to take this time on this platform to acknowledge it. So congratulations to Gerald Meerschaert for passing Demian Maia. Like, if you think about the best grapplers in MMA history, like Demian Maia has to be on the list. So like, not only was it a beautiful submission, but it was a record-breaking submission for Gerald Meerschaert. His teammate Ben Askren didn't have as good of a night, but Meerschaert looked phenomenal. Give me your thoughts here, Jeff.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know why the commentators wouldn't bring that up, man. When you talk about incredible grapplers in the UFC, Demian Maia has to be in your top 3, man. So for Meerschaert to surpass his submission record in the middleweight division, absolutely huge big accomplishment for Meerschaert. Bill, yeah, I was really impressed with that submission, man, because Fabinski went to tap and then immediately was out. Meerschaert has to have an incredible squeeze, dude. I would not want to be caught in anything fighting that guy. But yeah, dude, Meerschaert, he can be hot and cold, but he was definitely on last night. He didn't look like he was in trouble at any point during that fight. For the little bit that it was on the feet, he didn't look in trouble either. So Bill, you actually took one of the fights that I wanted to talk about. So I guess I'll just give you one more here.
Well, I'll go over the results, and then you tell me then you pick 2 of them. But sure. I wanted to highlight Meerschaert there, and that was, I believe it's 18 submissions, and I think the overall record is 21, which is Charles Oliveira. Mm-hmm. I might be pulling those numbers out of my ass. I know Charles Oliveira is the number 1 for most submissions. I think I just totally made those numbers up, but I think he's close to Oliveira, who's the overall. So let's just leave it at that. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not here. Like, you guys aren't here for like legitimate information. You're just here for like drunken opinions. Get over yourselves. All right. Tracy Cortez split decision over Justine Kish. I don't feel like, I don't know what that one judge was watching. I thought this fight was all Tracy Cortez. Like, yeah, she stood a little longer than she probably should have. She should have, stuck to what she was good at and kept taking her down, beating her up there. But I don't really see why it was a split decision. Luis Pena split decision over Alex Munoz. I was surprised that this one went to Pena personally. You can give me your thoughts on this one, Jeff, even if it's not one of the ones you picked after I run through all of these. But and I'll admit, I was kind of tuning in and out of this fight, but every time I was watching, like, Munoz had Pena rocked a couple of times. He was able to take him down at will. I didn't see anything like, again, I was in and out of this fight. I didn't see Pena in an advantageous position at any point. But I guess he feels like he's had some decisions that went unfairly against him. So I guess, maybe this is some build-up karma going his way. Alexander Romanov getting a technical decision over Juan Espino. This was actually a good fight for as long as it landed. As long as it lasted. I say landed because I'm thinking about how Espino landed on top of Romanov in the first round when he had that nice throw on him and he like crushed his chest. But yeah, it was a little bit back and forth, and then it ended with a low blow in the third round. And I guess they just called the fight there and like judged it up to that point, and the judges gave it to Romanov after like a devastating blow to the nuts. It was, I mean, I would not want to get kneed by a heavyweight in the nuts like that. Like just watching the replay of that made me feel lightheaded, Jeff. I was like, I don't want to continue, and I was just watching it. So I understand why Romanov stayed on the ground so long. Jessica Penne split decision over Lupita Godinez. A lot of people thought Penne lost this one. I wasn't fully paying attention to this fight either, I'll be honest, so I don't have an opinion on that one. Austin Hubbard with a unanimous decision over Dakota Bush. No controversy there. It was a pretty one-sided fight. And then Tony Gravely with the TKO over Anthony Burchak. I thought this was probably I'll say this is the fight of the night for me, Gravely and Burchak. Very back and forth. Like they both almost got finished at some point in this fight. There was a lot of great scrambles, and it ended in finish. All right, Jeff. So what sticks out to you the most after everything I just brought up there?
So definitely the Jessica Penne versus Lupita Godinez fight. It was a good fight. I actually had it for Godinez. I felt like she had just done enough to win. I really only saw one round for Jessica Penne, but that was just me. I mean, I was also kind of in and out with this one because I was listening to a podcast. But the Tony Gravely versus Anthony Burchak fight. If anybody missed it, go back and watch this fight. It was so exciting for however long it lasted. First, Gravely, I think he gets rocked in the first round. Then he almost taps Burchak in that same round. And then in the second round, Gravely comes back and TKOs Anthony Burchak. Such an exciting fight, so back and forth. You didn't know how it was going to finish. But absolutely, but for me, that was fight of the night. And Bill, as for the Luis Pena versus Alexander Munoz, I was a little bit in and out with this one, but I felt like Luis Pena had just done enough to win. The times that I was paying attention to this fight, it looked like Pena was in an advantageous position.
Jeff, we must have been on opposite wavelengths of this one. Like, I was probably watching when you weren't, and you were watching when I wasn't, and like,
and then we would just switch.
Yeah, and probably like two of the judges, like two of them were watching what you saw, and one of them saw what I did, and like they weren't fully paying attention either.
Oh, dude, it's like that scene in Grown Ups when Rob Schneider's daughters come in and they're all really attractive. But they take turns watching them. Some are watching them, and then the other group of guys are watching the trees, and then they're like, switch. I think
I'm so glad you brought up that reference because I fucking love that movie. And it's a terrible movie, but I love it.
Oh, yeah. The second one's even worse. You'd like the second one, Bill.
I like the second one too. I just like, it's guys like in their 40s just like talking shit to each other, and they like kind of built a movie around that, and that's what I love about it. It's like so relatable because I'm like I'm almost there. Like when my kid's a little bit older and I'm hanging out with my high school buddies and their kids are older and we're just all talking shit to each other. Like that's where I see my life going. Oh, sorry. I just accidentally hit all these medals hanging on my wall. All these grappling medals that I own, Jeff.
Nice. I keep getting emails from my students about completed assignments, but the market period ended on Friday, Bill. I can't do anything. I can't change the grades. The system's locked. So whatever, man.
Yeah, well, our opinions are locked on UFC on ESPN 22, which was also UFC Vegas 24. I'm really starting to lose track of these, Jeff. They need to come up with a better system for this. Before we get into next week's card, I will tell you there was Bellator on Friday. Vadim Nemkov beat Phil Davis. Nobody cares. Corey Anderson TKO'd some guy. Nobody cares. The fight, I will tell you that you should watch, Jeff, because I know you probably didn't because it's Bellator. Paul Daly and Sabah Hamasi. This was a phenomenal fight. So Hamasi basically almost knocked out Paul Daly 6 times in the first round. And then second round comes around and Paul Daly TKOs Hamasi in a minute 44 seconds. Awesome fight. A lot of action. I can't in good conscience recommend anything else. from this. that fight was good.
Just tell me when Rumble fights Yoel Romero, and I'll be there. Anything else, I don't really care for.
Yeah, and it's part of like a tournament that nobody knows about, except the people who just heard me say it's part of a tournament. But Jeff, next weekend, UFC 261. This card is phenomenal. The top of this card is ridiculous. We got 3 title fights, which normally would really bother me because immediately I think like, oh, I'm going to be up too late, which I was last night. I told you I was watching the fights at my buddy's house. I got home at like 2 a.m. And of course I'm up at 7 when Ariana's jumping on my face like, Daddy, wake up. So that was fun. So here I am, sleep deprived, and talking about these fights. So the main event, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal rematch. It's hard for me to get excited about this one. I know everybody's saying like, oh, Masvidal took it on a few days' notice and he didn't have a full camp. It's like, yeah, but he was never really in that fight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like Usman is so
Bill, Ariana just heard what you said and she's not very pleased.
Oh no, I'm already getting I'm getting heckled by my 3-year-old on my own podcast. What's going on here? Hi honey, Daddy loves you. Please be in a good mood when I come downstairs, okay? And Mommy too. Mommy, be in a good mood when I come downstairs.
Oh man, Bill, looks like you're gonna run into a Miami hurricane when you get down there.
Well, luckily I got this bottle of Buffalo Trace here, so I might have to polish this off before I head downstairs. All right, so let's get through this here. Usman and Masvidal. This is a tough one. Masvidal's a guy you can never count out. Don't get me wrong. So that's the one variable I'm hanging. I don't give a shit about like, oh, he didn't have a full camp the last time and this and that. Like Masvidal has the ability to end anybody's night quickly. Like he was not supposed to beat Ben Askren, set the record for the quickest knockout of all time. He was supposed to get dominated by Askren, and Askren by any stretch better wrestler than Kamaru Usman. So as long as Masvidal has that same confidence going into this fight, like if he really believes he could win, it could happen. But like on paper and as far as like skill for skill, like Usman should do the same thing to him, like especially because he's already felt him. Usman's never underestimating anybody. He's never coming in like not prepared enough. Like if I had to pick the champions that I would say are never going to come in unprepared and like underestimating somebody, like Usman and probably Valentina Shevchenko are at the top of my list. Like they're preparing for war no matter who is standing across from them. Those are my 2. I mean, can you think of one that would be above either of those 2, Jeff, in that category?
No, I think like you said, definitely never out of the fight. At least has a puncher's chance. But Bill, there's the other side of that equation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I don't see it going well for Masvidal. I gotta tell you, Bill.
I thought you were about to drop some knowledge on me, Jeff. Like here's something you never thought about.
No, he's gonna get whooped again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it going any other way, but like it could, and I don't want to miss it if that happens. That's why I'm going to tune in. Like that what if is what keeps me hanging on, Jeff. It's like, or could Usman finish him this time? Like, Masvidal's not the easiest guy to put away. Like but we saw what Usman just did to Gilbert Burns. So, could it happen? All right, co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko And honey, if you're still listening, this is the Russian gal who lived in Peru for a long time. So this is one that you root for. So we'll be watching this one next week.
Yeah, Spanish is better than English, man. I love Valentina Shevchenko.
Dude, she speaks like 7 languages. She's got to be like a spy or something. Like like a human being should not have so much talent.
Yeah, she's a little too skilled at everything. She's good with guns. She's probably ex-military or something. She has to be.
I just have to bring this up. Claudia was responding that she turned on YouTube downstairs and they were going to put on the kids show, but Ariana said, "Daddy," when she saw my face pop up.
Bill, before we get into the Shevchenko title fight, it is a little exciting with Masvidal because he does have that puncher's chance, man. You know, I didn't think that Conor McGregor was gonna beat Jose Aldo at all, and 14 seconds later, I stood corrected. So
I believe it was 13.
Yeah, but it took a sec for the ref to get McGregor off him.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right, so we got Shevchenko against Andrade. This is another one. You know, Andrade, you know, one of the top 5 toughest female fighters on the roster, no question there. I mean, she's a little pit bull, but you know, Shevchenko is like, she just so prepared for everybody, and there's just like nobody on her level. So this is a hard one too. But you know, Andrade does have that toughness factor. So like, much like the main event, it's like I have to watch it to see what's going to happen, because I know what should happen. You know, Usman should, you know, 50-45 Masvidal. Shevchenko should be able to handle Andrade, but what if they can't? And that what if is what keeps me hanging on. What if I run out of bourbon? That'll never happen. But Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas, a little bit of a political controversy, but I talked enough about that last week, so we don't have to get into that. But what do you think about this actual fight? Who's taking this one, Jeff?
Bill, I don't see. Well, we've never seen Zhang Weili's grappling, so I feel like Rose Namajunas could definitely take it to the ground and test those waters. But I would advise against keeping it on the feet. Weili hits hard in this strawweight division. I mean, you remember what she had, what she did to Joanna and Jacek. So yeah, I think Rose's best bet is to try out those waters, see if Weili can grapple. But yeah, Weili she has so much power, and she's very athletic too, man. And unafraid to stay in that pocket and take some damage if it means that she can dish out damage as well. And as for that Shevchenko Andrade fight, very very similar with Jessica Andrade. She has so much power. Shevchenko has the skill set to beat her, no question about it. But Andrade could just drop her on her head and knock her out that way. I don't know. But man, like, I feel like that's the case for all 3 of these title fights. Is everybody has the challengers all have a puncher's chance here, but they're coming up against very dominant champions. It's going to be a really fun card.
All right, so here's my question for you, Jeff. 3 title fights. If I told you one title is going to change hands, which one is your money on?
That's a good question, Bill. You got me on this one. I wasn't expecting this one, but I think if I had to pick one title to change hands, I think Masvidal beats Usman. If only one title changes hands, I think Masvidal is the one winning it. And it's not to say that I think he will beat Kamaru Usman. It's just that I feel that Weili Zhang and Valentina Shevchenko are just way too dominant to lose their titles. I just don't see that happening. I think that Usman probably has the highest probability of losing to Masvidal.
Yeah.
In comparison to the other two champions.
My daughter left the show to watch Diana on YouTube, who has like 20 million more subscribers than I do.
Diana.
She's this girl who is like I guess she's like Eastern European or something. And my daughter just loves watching her. And all she does is like play with toys. She's like 6 or 7 years old. And she just like, she gets all these free toys sent to her and she plays with them. And that's what she does. She doesn't put effort into a YouTube channel like I do, where I go through so much alcohol, Jeff, to bring content to people. Like this 6-year-old over in the Ukraine or Eastern Europe, wherever she is, she's not drinking an ounce of bourbon. I'm doing so much more over here. But, you know, life's not fair. I know you didn't ask, Jeff, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Rose Namajunas pulling the upset.
Bill, you didn't give me a chance to ask. You just started talking about Diane.
Yeah.
Bill, if you had to pick one title to change hands, who do you think loses their belt?
Shevchenko. No, I'm just kidding. If I had to pick a lock, it would always be Shevchenko. If I had to pick I think I don't look at the betting odds or anything, but I think all three challengers for the titles are underdogs. Like they have to be, right? So if I had to bet on an underdog, I would bet on Rose. Just because, I mean, I know she's hot and cold, but like when she's hot, like she's like really fucking good. So I feel like she could do it. I feel like if you look at skill for skill, she's the only one where I feel like skill for skill could compete with the title holder out of these three. So I'm going to go with Rose if I had to pick one of them to be an upset. Do you agree that all three of the challengers would be underdogs here, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. You know, realistically speaking, I think all three champions keep their titles. But that's what's exciting about the UFC, Bill. MMA math doesn't work. So, you know, somebody could get knocked out with a flying knee in 3 seconds.
That's true. That's true. Mark Fell is getting a little ahead of me because he's already talking about my sleeper fight pick of the week. But before we get to that, Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall, this is a rematch. They fought on a local circuit many moons ago, and Chris Weidman was victorious there. But not a lot of people with a lot of confidence in the chin of Chris Weidman lately. But he has won 15 of his first 20 fights, Jeff. Little known statistic. I'm gonna start introducing every fighter like this. Uriah Hall has won 16 of his first 27 fights, or 25 fights. Never mind. Math is not my strong point. I'm not going to do that anymore. But Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, who you got? What do you think?
Man, this is a tough pick, man. Just because both of them have been tough patches, and have fought each other before. I'm going to give this one to Uriah Hall. I think he just. I think because of his power and his unorthodox striking, I think that Chris Weidman is just not going to be ready for it.
Yeah, and you know, Weidman has power too. Like he has knocked out Anderson Silva. We just haven't seen it in a while. And then he would have the wrestling advantage clearly, but what are you going to do to Uriah Hall on the ground? Like Shoeface couldn't submit him. So and that's one of the best grapplers on the planet right there. So are you gonna be able to beat him up enough on the ground so that his striking on the feet isn't as effective? It's tough, man. If you're a fan of Chris Weidman, these are tough days because you know he's focused on other things. He moved away from his camp. He's living in South Carolina now. You know, I hear he's getting good training down there, but you know, he's not doing what got him to the dance, what got him to the world championship anymore. And, you know, those days are a distant memory right now. But, you know, I got a soft spot for Chris Weidman, but I got a soft spot for Uriah Hall too. I get a lot of great memories with that guy coming off The Ultimate Fighter, one of the most epic knockouts of all time, that spinning back kick to the face of whoever it was. So here's my sleeper fight pick, Jeff. Anthony Smith versus your boy Jimmy Crute. And we know who Mark Fellows is rooting for here, but this is going to be an interesting fight. Anthony Smith, I believe this is going to be like the pay-per-view opener right here. Anthony Smith was fighting main events not so long ago when he was having it, his teeth fall out of his mouth and stuff. But still, he's been there. He's been to the show. He's fought for the title. Jimmy Crute on the way up. This is a tough test. This is a big jumping competition for Jimmy Crute. This is a tough test to see where Anthony Smith is still in his career. How do you see this one going down?
Bill, I got it for Jimmy Crute, man. Got to stick with my man Mark Fellows, loyal fan to the show. And Bill, I'm a big fan of Jimmy Crute. Time to shine, man. I think that if he can prove himself against Anthony Smith, who knows? Maybe there's a certain Polish light heavyweight champion looking for a dance partner after that. So I would love for Jimmy Crute to prove himself against Anthony Smith.
For sure. I'm a fan too. And Mark says it might be the main event by the time fight week cancellations are done. We'd have to lose 3 title fights and Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall. Anything could happen. I wouldn't bet on that happening, but it very well could. The only other fight two more fights I want to talk about. Cowboy Oliveira and Randy Brown. That should be a fun one, Jeff. Those are two guys who never really have boring fights. Randy Brown, of course, from your neck of the woods. And then Brendan Allen against my boy Carl Roberson. We're Instagram pals. So I guess, we follow each other on Instagram. So I guess that means I have to root for him, right? But yeah, those are the last 2 fights. The rest, the undercard is going to be good. I have no doubt, but I also have no desire to talk about it because we've been at this for an hour and a half. But those 2 fights, Jeff, what do you like there?
All right, Bill, I got to get going soon because I'm a little pressed for time. But, Bill, my dark horse, my sleeper fight pick for this card is Carl Roberson versus Brendan Allen. Bill, I think this fight is going to be fireworks. I think someone's getting put away. Neither of these guys gives up an inch. Neither of them is scared to fight in the pocket, to fight in a phone booth. So I think it's going to be a slobber knocker, in the words of Jim Ross. I think this one, second round, it's over by the second round.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really fun fight. I'm sticking with Jimmy Crute and Anthony Smith as my sleeper pick, but that would have been my second choice. So we're on the same wavelength here, Jeff. It's not like the Luis Pena fight where you and I were taking turns watching the fight and missing what happened. Also, Mark's
switch.
Yeah. I love the grown-ups reference. I hope a lot of people get that because I fucking love that terrible movie. They're like, how do we make a movie about just talking shit to each other? Like, hey, what if we played Pee-wee basketball and our coach died? Like, oh yeah, it's great. Let's make a movie about that. And Adam Sandler's like, I can make a movie about anything. I own the company. What do you guys want to do? I'll have some cameras come. We'll just do. You guys want to get Colin Quinn on this? He'll be the bad guy.
Oh man,
great stuff. Anything else you want to get off your chest here, Jeff?
Yeah, so Mark, I did get a haircut. Right now I have gel in it, so it looks a lot better than when I woke up this morning. But thank you. Appreciate it. So that's about it, Bill. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and be safe out there.
For sure. And please do leave us a review wherever you are watching or listening or however you're consuming this podcast. Leave us a review. Shares are always appreciated. Thanks everybody for listening. If you want to grab a hold of some MMA on the Rocks gear, swag, whatever you kids are calling it these days, you can do so through our friends at Team Reaper, reaper1.co. I'll put the link down in the show notes. As always, you can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10 and get yourself 10% off. You can also buy some other stuff. They got some training gear, gis, rash guards, all that good stuff. If you guys want to get a hold of Jeff, it's at animal_Wilson, Twitter and Instagram. You guys know how to get a hold of me, MMA on the Rocks, everywhere on social media. Thanks, as always, for tuning in, for participating, for sharing the episodes. We do appreciate it. Obviously, we'd be doing this if nobody was listening, so it's just an added bonus that people do listen. So thank you for that. And until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.